What's going on YouTube? Super Insane 18 here, and today I am back with the deck that just keeps on giving, and that is going to be Spright with yet another new variant. Today we are doing Adventure Spright. I actually went undefeated last night at my 57 player locals, so there is that. I somehow managed to take second. I guess there was also one other undefeated who had better tiebreakers, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and show you guys the deck profile. It's absolutely crazy. None of my matches, other than the final round, lasted more than 10 minutes. I 2-0'd them all until that final round, so that's just a testament for how insane this deck is. Let's show you guys the build. So kicking things off with the Spright lineup, it is going to be relatively standard with one extra, and that's going to be 3 copies of Spright Blue, 3 copies of Spright Jet, 2 copies of Red. Some people are playing it at 1, those people are wrong. Having Spright Red at 2 is absolutely insane, not just to mention you can end your turn on it for another interruption, but then you can also starter into it if your board gets something like Dark Rulered or Droplets, and then you still have a monster negate, so I think 2 is just the only option. Anybody who plays 1, in my opinion, is just objectively wrong, so we are going to be having 2 Red. Then we have 1 Carrot with the newest addition, 1 Pixies. Honestly, Pixies I slept on a lot. I thought this card was garbage, but it won me so many games yesterday just being able to Honest, and not to mention it is just another special summon, so, and because we are playing the Adventure Engine, just normaling this, because it doesn't really need an effect, is pretty damn good as well, so that's going to be the Spright lineup. Then we have our Frogs with the 3 copies of Swap, our 1 Ronin, and our 1 Dupe. Dupe is one of those cards that I'm very on the fence about. I don't necessarily know if I want to keep playing it. Maybe it's just a locals thing, but I've been running into Super Poly a lot, and I mean, it's not really that bad, because if they Super Poly your Dupe and your Toad, as soon as they resolve it, you can go ahead and get the Toad back on the field, since they're going to control the new Garura monster, use the Elf effect to reborn the Toad, and then you still have your negate. Granted, they got rid of one of your negates, but you got rid of 2 of the cards in their hand because they had the Super Poly in the discard, so maybe it's not the end of the world, but Dupe was one of the cards that I sided out in literally every game, so I'm not 100% sure on it. It is a 41 card deck, so I could just cut the Dupe, but it's definitely something I'm going to have to put some thought into. Then we have our Adventure Engine with the 3 copies of Water Enchantress and the 1 Wandering Griffin Rider. This engine was absolutely incredible. For those of you that don't know as well, Swap Frog can summon itself by discarding a water monster, so if you open up Swap and Enchantress, that's pretty much just the freest of free things you can ever do in this game, and it's actually insane. But the Adventure Engine did put a lot of pressure on my opponent. It baited a hand trap that would otherwise be used on my Gigantic, or if they didn't hand trap it, then they couldn't hand trap the Gigantic, so I think that this was just absolutely insane. There were so many boards where I ended full combo, where I ended with the Token, the Wandering Griffin, the Double Toad because of the Elf, with a starter face down, and it was just insane. But moving on to the rest of the Adventure Engine, we have our Draco back and our Fateful, with our 3 copies of Rite of Ramesir, and that is it for the Adventure Engine. It's the Adventure Engine, nothing else needs to be said. Then onto our one-ofs, we have a Called by the Grave, a Foolish Burial for the Adventure Engine, and our Spright Smashers. Anybody who is not playing Smashers, again, in my opinion, is objectively wrong. I think this card is insane. This card won me so many games as well last night. Just being able to non-target banish a card your opponent controls definitely comes in clutch. Also outs Mystic Mine, which I think is very important until that card gets banned. So I think that you have to play at least 1 Smashers. Some people are even siding a second. I didn't go that far, but I think that Spright Smashers is an incredible card. We are only playing 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. If you've watched any of my videos recently, you will know that I don't necessarily like this card right now. I feel like the discard cost is a little bit too heavy, and I feel like anytime I play 3 of this card, I'm always opening 2 of it, and I just don't want to do that, so I put it down to 2, and it worked out really good. I don't think that it needs to be any more than that, because the better board breaker, in my opinion, is the Dark Ruler No More that we are also playing at 3, because it doesn't have a discard cost. Yeah, you're not going to be able to deal damage, but I literally watched my opponent lose a game yesterday because I set up my full board with it was Griffin, Elf, Toad, and Red, and he had to negate all 4 of those, otherwise he was just going to lose anyway. So he Droplet discarded 4, that's 5 cards out of his hand, he had 1 card, and he just couldn't play. So I think Dark Ruler is just objectively the better board breaker over Droplet, but you still want to play multiples, because The way that the deck is built is in a 41 card deck, we have 3 Dark Ruler and we have 2 Droplet, that's 5 cards. In a going second scenario, playing a 41 card deck, you're drawing 6 cards. That is a 50-point-something% chance that you're going to see one of them. So you're essentially taking a coin toss that you're going to see a board breaker, and even if you don't see the board breaker, you can still play through boards just with the sheer amount of extension that is in the deck. So I think that this is the right ratio for board breaking cards. But then onto our consistency pieces, we have a set of Pot of Prosperity. This is a card that I originally didn't really want to play because the extra deck was super tight, but it did come in clutch specifically for the Adventure Engine. There were multiple times where I had a really good hand, but it would fold to 1 interruption, so being able to Prosperity for 6, getting into my Adventure package before doing anything was definitely the MVP of the day, and something I just want to mention that I forgot to mention earlier, if you are using the Adventure package, you have to make sure that you use it before you use your Spright starter, because Spright starter locks you into 2s, meaning you won't be able to summon the token or the Griffin. So the one downside to this deck is you can't really do the starter in draw phase, but I don't really think that matters. You're getting an Omni Negate on 2 summons out of it, so you got to take it where you can get it. Then we have our 3 Spright starter. Obviously, it is the E-Telly of the deck. Incredible card. You need 3 of this. Nothing else needs to be said. And the final cards are 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. I think this card is incredible. Yesterday, it was hilarious. I normal summoned Swap Frog and my opponent gammed it with the assumption that getting rid of my normal summon is going to end my turn. I Triple Tactics Talent, took control of the Gamma. Oh look, a level 2 on board. Go ahead, special blue, full combo, and it was just hilarious. So I think Triple Tactics Talent is an incredible card for this deck. You're either going to draw 2, take control of a Gamma and full combo, or if you still have full combo in your hand anyway, just rip another resource out of their hand. Honestly, it is an insane card, so that is going to be it for the main deck. Again, that is 41 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. Now, the extra deck is relatively unchanged, so we're just going to kind of speed through it with maybe a little bit of explanation. We have the Cat Shark. Putting Gigantic up to 6,400 is incredible. The deck has a very hard time gaming, and this is how you do it. We have the Onibumaru Soul Sweeper. I think this is the best rank 2 in the game. Not only are you able to just banish problems and go for game easier, but you can also recycle your frogs once they're banished. If they destroy this, you can recycle material or recycle banished cards up to the number of materials it had. So there was a time where I got my Ronin banished after I banished my Swap Frog. I made this and then my opponent destroyed it, and I was able to put the Ronin and the Swap back, so it let me just kind of recur those resources. This is a card that I'm still very iffy on. It didn't really come up for its actual effect. The only reason it came up was to swing, not die by battle, and then make a Zeus with multiple sends. But I mean, this card is like the flex spot in my opinion. I don't necessarily think Sky Cavalry is necessary. Some people have told me I'm wrong, but it doesn't come up for me. Then we have our 1 copy of Toad. Obviously, that is the power play of the deck. Our 2 copies of Gigantic, which again doesn't really need explaining, and then we have our Downard and our Zeus, and that's going to be it for the XYZs. Onto the links, we have our 1 copy of Almirage. We are playing the Almirage again because we want to be able to just 1-card swap combo if it comes down to it. We have our IP Masquerena. I think this is an incredible card. If you have the extra material to go into another Link 2 at the end of your combo, this is definitely the one, because what you can do is you can Nightmare Unicorn away an opposing sprite's normal summon, and usually that's enough to end the game unless they have a starter, so I think this is incredible. We have 2 Spright Elf. I really wish I had the room for a third, but sadly I do not. Then we have our Nightmare Unicorn and our Nightmare Phoenix. These are just, like I said, this is for the IP, this is just a generic 2. Really good. It can out floodgates that would otherwise kill you, such as Rivalry, there can be only 1, goes in match, so you can play around this really easily. And then the final card is the Access Code Talker. It almost never comes up and could probably be something else, but if you're going to IP into Unicorn and be able to end a turn, you might as well turn it into Access Code to start your next turn, so I think that is the extra deck, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my undefeated Adventure Spright deck profile. Again, I took 2nd place at a 57-man locals, so the results definitely speak for itself. I think that this is probably definitively the best way to play Spright, so take that with a grain of salt. Go ahead and try it for yourself, but you guys know the deal. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends, and maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $1, you can support the channel in a way that I would never be able to tell you how much I fully appreciate. Not to mention, if you ever want want to see the side decks for any of the decks that I post, they do go up on my Patreon, so the side deck for this will be on there as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.